Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show. Your mic is on. I know because you were doing that, but your headphones are not.
No, they're not.
We're going to switch this, and I know exactly how to fix this.
What's up, nerds? It's your boy, Greg Tepper, waiting to be able to hear program. It's all very good. So this is what happens whenever we have to shift the whole studio around to do a national... So there we go. Do a national signing day. Boy, there's nothing worse than getting your own voice in your ears all of a sudden. Do a National Signing Day show and then a Realignment show. And now we're back to normal. Got our studio back set up.
Yeah, I will say I feel like right when we were fixing to go live here, I felt like the show wasn't properly set up because I didn't spend hours making sure that everything was in place like I have for the past two shows.
It's a boring-ass show.
Yeah, it's like I have the graphics that we need and then we'll call Greg and it's like, okay, that's kind of it.
But we will start today's show in a new week and a new day and a new era with a segment I like to call Tepper's Entertainment Corner.
Sure.
I got 3 things to recommend to you, Pickle.
Okay.
3 things to recommend to you.
That's a lot of recommendations. Are they different things or are they all the same thing? Okay. Then I can handle that.
They're all different things.
You can't recommend 3 books at one time. That's too many.
No.
Or 3 movies at one time. That's too many.
2 movies and a TV show.
Okay. That's a lot. But, okay. Movies are one and done, so that's fine. But if you recommend 3 TV shows, you can't start 3 TV shows. You know what I'm saying? Okay, continue. What are your recommendations?
First movie.
Tepper's Entertainment Corner.
This came via a recommendation from our friend Ishmael Johnson.
Ah, yes, I know where this is going.
On Netflix, a movie called Tick, Tick, Boom. It is the story of Jonathan Larson, who wrote the musical Rent. I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a sucker for a musical. I like musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I think musical theater is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's not something that's typically in my wheelhouse. But I'm willing to give it a shot.
I will tell you, the music is excellent. Andrew Garfield is unbelievable in this movie. Mm-hmm. Vanessa Hudgens shows up.
I'm a big fan.
Bradley Whitford shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Kind shows up. It's a really fun.
A lot of big names.
It's a really fun movie. I really enjoyed it. It is the best movie I've seen in a while.
Ish loves it, and I take Ish's movie recommendations pretty stinking seriously because he's big #film nerd.
No, he is. He's a film nerd, and he's just a content nerd. He
never lacks content. From memes to the most
if Ish watches something, I'm fairly certain, and he likes it. I'm fairly certain it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a compound. But anyway, Tick, Tick, Boom. It's excellent. It's on Netflix. It's Andrew Garfield stars him, and he sings, and it's amazing. The music's incredible. Second, I'll give you the TV show. The TV show. It's on. Do you have the Hulu?
I do.
Okay. Are you familiar with the series, the original series, Only Murders in the Building?
I'm not.
Okay. It is Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez.
Oh, you were telling Mallory and I about this at Cane's. That's right.
It is the strangest.
What is it? Only Murders?
Only Murders in the Building.
In the Building.
Is the strangest, ensemble, but it works. And I was not very familiar with Selena Gomez's work, but she is very charming. Mm-hmm. Steve, I don't think I need to convince you on Steve Martin and Martin Short. They're awesome. But it is a murder mystery, but it's like a comedy.
Which are 2 things that do not seem like they should be said in the same sentence.
It is basically, I don't think this will give anything away. They live in a kind of a fancy building in New York. Mm-hmm. Somebody is murdered, and they decide to investigate it and do a podcast about it. And it's great. It's really good.
Yeah.
My wife and I we blew through it. It was really good.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. Tina Fey shows up.
I'm a big fan of Tina Fey.
There's other people. Oh, Sting.
This sounds like the weirdest conglomerate of things that you could possibly put together.
It is bizarre, but I promise you, Only Murders in the Building.
Okay.
And finally...
And that's not a long, extended thing.
No.
That's only 1 season right now?
Correct. Yeah, it's 1 season. I think they've been renewed for another. I wish they wouldn't. God, I like it whenever it's hit it and quit it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Finally, and this is not an original recommendation.
Okay.
You've probably been reading a lot about it. Do you have Disney Plus?
I do not.
Well, we can talk. The new original Encanto.
Yes.
So Hank, our 3-year-old, loves it.
Yeah.
Loves the music.
Mm-hmm.
It's set in Colombia. The music is by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I guess I should say Tick Tick Boom was also directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, so you're on a
heater. We watched it in the Heights. I mean, I'm on a heater. But Encanto, the music is spectacular, and the story is really good. It's really good. It is the best animated Disney movie since Moana.
Okay. So I'm very familiar with it. I have some friends who have kids that absolutely love it, and I've kind of danced to the music of when they had it on in the background, but I haven't watched it.
As somebody who, and it's different. It's different cultures, and I'm not trying to lump them all into the same same bucket, but they share similar characteristics. As somebody who likes mariachi music and salsa music and that kind of stuff, you will love the music here.
Yeah, no, I genuinely, that is on my list of things to watch. Like, I've heard from everyone that it's fantastic.
It's
and that's a thing for me.
It's a good story. Makes you feel good.
Yeah. That's a big thing for me with movies, is movies that have music that I really like in them. I like the movie better when I can relate to the music more.
Yes, the music.
Because I'm just music person.
The music's excellent. So there you go. There's 3 recommendations. And
I feel like I can do all that.
And that rounds out Tepper's Entertainment Corner. Hit the theme expo. Pickle! Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it's Texas Football Today, a show that is just doing a normal show. Just, normal episode.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about.
It was pretty stinking easy to set up.
My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a magazine, texasfootball.com. A corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live on texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, or you listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She is the Duchess of the Dork. She's wearing her glasses today because she's out of contacts.
I am. Hi. Yeah, I'm having a nerd out. They should be in tomorrow, I'm hoping, but I might be a nerd for a couple days.
That's fine. 4 eyes. Today is Monday, February 7th, 2022, 290 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday.
Okay.
You know his birthday today?
This sounds important. No.
Today's Garth Brooks' birthday.
Oh, friends in low places.
Listen.
How about
we will not tolerate any Garth slander on this.
No. Get on out.
Garth rules. That is verifiable.
The official stance of TFT. Garth Brooks rules.
Episode 1327. On today's show, guys, I spent the weekend stewing on realignment, and I've got some thoughts. Because Thursday was instant reaction. It's what you see. Mm-hmm. I've kind of taken a deeper dive into it, and I've got a few more thoughts. We're going to kind of do some more realignment talk coming up here in a moment. In the back half of the show, don't listen to me talk about realignment. Listen to Craig Way talk about realignment. We'll be joined by Craig Way, joining us here to talk a little bit about his impressions of the new UIL realignment. He'll be joining us in the back half of the program if you stick with us. Do we have first 4 through the door?
We sure do. It was Coach Terry Crawford, Aaron Arbuckle, Ed McElroy, and Lau Good. Welcome in, fellas.
Abbott got a new district bunkmate, if I remember correctly.
He said it was pretty boring for the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily surprising that they were joined by somebody, but somebody did join them. I can't remember. Was it Bluffdale? No, I'm crazy. I'm not.
Well, we knew
don't
that.
Listen to me. Don't listen.
We also knew that.
Yeah. Who did they? No. Who joined them? 12-1AD1. Who joined them? Sorry, you're listening to live coverage of me figuring out.
Coach is going to put it in the comments before you even get there.
Yes, he absolutely is. But their district did get a little bit tougher, if I remember correctly. Anyway, that's not here nor there. Oh, Golson. They added Golson. Okay. All right. UIL realignment. It was Thursday. It was
fact.
nuts. Thanks to everybody who tuned into our UIL realignment special. It was a massive success. We do appreciate you guys. I think part of the reason it was a massive success is because a lot of coaches and a lot of students and players were sitting at home. Like they were kind of snowed in. So thanks, regardless of why you tuned in. We do appreciate you tuning in.
He said it stayed the same. So you're just wrong on all cases.
Maybe I am. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the thing about realignment and doing a live show on realignment is that this huge chunk of data gets dropped in your lap.
Yeah.
And your job is to just kind of go through it as quickly as you can.
Yeah, you don't get bits and pieces. You get
the
whole entree.
Whole thing.
No chips
all
and dips.
At once. Yeah, there's no chips and dips. They just bring out the entire botana platter right then. Okay? And so I spent the long weekend, because we didn't do a show Friday. I spent the long weekend kind of going over it and thinking through things. I also talked it over with Step. We have a long episode, nearly 100 minutes of Tep and Step breaking down realignment.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And I have some more thoughts on realignment, some bigger picture thoughts. And so we're going to call this, upon further review, UIL realignment. So I've got 5 thoughts I want to throw at you.
Okay.
My first thought, no small changes. After kind of consuming realignment as a whole, the headline for me is that overall, it was pretty chalky.
Yeah.
Overall, the UIL didn't make... There were a lot of changes the UIL could have made that they didn't. That a lot of the core of a lot of districts stayed the same.
Yeah.
A lot of the core of a lot of regions stayed the same. A lot of the core of what Texas high school football looked like did stay the same. On balance, overall. But when the UIL did make changes, they went, and I don't want to use a medical term here, so I won't talk over your head, but they went buck wild. They went nuts.
Yeah.
The UIL, when they made changes, they fundamentally shifted things around. That, okay, for example, 3A Division 1, okay? We're all sitting there marveling, oh my gosh, Franklin and Lorena in the same district. Can you believe it? We get the... Plus they're in there with Cameron, and Rockdale, and Little River Academy, and Troy. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Look at 11 3A Division 1. Unbelievable. But once you get past that, you take a look and you go, oh, well, none of the existing 3A Division 1 teams changed regions. They all stayed the same.
Yep.
So fundamentally, the shape of 3A Division 1 didn't really change. 4A Division 2, I think, is another good example. 4A Division 2, you look at a lot of the core of a lot of districts, largely the same. Obviously, there are teams moving up, there are teams moving out, things like that. There's always going to be that. But they didn't jumble it all up and try different things.
Right.
A lot of it stayed the same. But they did take Carthage
and put them on the
and move them to the other side of the bracket.
Yep.
Which is like a massive power shift.
Yep. That's literally, I think flipping someone like that to the whole other side of the bracket is the biggest shift you can make.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, going from District 9 to District 8 is like the biggest change you can make.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I think is interesting. There were no little tweaks. They were either pretty much the same or just
an explosion.
Like, we're going to lob a grenade into it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So to me, there were no small changes in the UIL realignment. Number 2. Shifting district centers. A lot of this has to do, in my opinion, with Central Texas. Because Central Texas is in a weird spot in UIL realignment. They're right there in the middle, and they're kind of...
You're forced to make a directional change.
Do you know what it is? You ever play Uno?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You know what it is? It's like the wild card in Uno where you can play any color that you want. Central Texas is the wild card. Central Texas can get sent anywhere.
Yep.
Central Texas can be put in Region 1. They can get put in, I mean, as we see, like Killeen is in region, the Killeen schools are in Region 1. They can get put in Region 2. They can get put in Region 3. They can get put in Region 4.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily saying that means that they're going to be traveling 600 miles for something. It just means that they could go any which way.
It's just the way that it is. And so what I think is interesting is that they took a couple of districts that were largely like that were centered in one place, and they moved the center of it.
Yep.
I'll give you an example. 11-6A is an interesting example. It's a District of Doom.
Yep.
Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill.
The I-20 corridor.
Right. The past couple of years, they've had Waco, and they've had, was it Waco or Waco U?
It was Midway.
Midway and Waco.
And Waco, yeah.
Waco. They basically turned 11-6A into much more. Like there's no doubt where the center of that is now. It is South DFW.
Yep.
Okay, that's where it is. It's not South DFW and Central Texas and stuff like that. So what they did was they took Midway and they sent them south to Temple, to Hutto, to Pflugerville Weiss and stuff like that.
Which they're excited about.
They made that a more central Texas district. And they put Midway in there instead of making them into a DFW district. Instead
of having to go up 35 every single week.
Another example is District 7-5A Division 1. 7-5A Division 1 in the past was kind of that hybrid between East Dallas and East Texas. Right? So Longview, Mesquite, and the Mesquite schools, right? Kind of one of there. Now what they've done, I would say that because they added in McKinney North and they added in Lufkin, they have kind of shifted the center a little bit, I think, southeast a little bit.
Yeah.
And so there's a district, like that is a district that the midpoint has changed.
Yeah.
In a lot
into
of
more of the piney woods, I would say, rather than...
Right. Exactly right. I would also, you look at a district like... obviously what happened with Corpus Christi Flower Bluff and Gregory Portland.
Yes.
Right? Where they get sent to the Rio Grande Valley. That is basically the coastal bend. They are lumping them in with the Rio Grande Valley. And by the way, they did that a couple of times in a couple of different places.
Right.
They have said the centralized point of the state is in the Rio Grande Valley. You guys can be magnetic to there instead of us sending those teams to you.
Right.
If that makes sense. So that's what I think is particularly interesting there, as these district centers have shifted a little bit. Thought number 3, hard and soft landings. So when the Bolts are flying on Thursday, you can't look at every team that was getting moved up, moved down, and things like that. You can't look at all those things. But there certainly are teams that I think got a pretty decent draw despite moving up. Right? Moving up in classification, they got a pretty decent draw.
And this is just transparently calling it how it is.
Yeah. Exactly right. That's just my opinion. I mean, you can argue with me, you cannot. Salina moved up to 4A Division 1. They get in with a Dallas ISD district. They get in, their region, I think, is about the same as it was last time.
Yep.
And I think that overall, if you're Salina, you're pretty pleased with how things turned out. I would look at a team...
Highland Park landing in that district with Irving and Richardson, pretty darn good. I think they're pretty good. Argyle, I think, got a pretty solid. I think they got a pretty solid landing there. There's not a whole lot to complain about where they landed. Okay, I would also add in a team, and maybe this is something that maybe this is just me spending the weekend thinking about it. But I would look at a team like Medina Valley. Medina Valley moved up to 5A Division 1. Medina Valley ends up landing in District 13 5A Division 1. And so they're going to be in with the San Antonio Laredo and San Antonio Southwest and San Antonio Southwest Legacy, all those things. And by the way, in one district, I just want to point this out. District 13 5A Division 1. San Antonio Southside, San Antonio Southwest, South San Antonio Southwest Legacy. Thanks, guys. Thanks, UIL. That'll be easy for me to sort through. I definitely won't get those confused. Those are some teams that I think ended up getting a pretty decent landing despite moving up. Right.
There are also teams that I think maybe moved down that maybe didn't get, or rather, let's talk about some teams that maybe did get a tougher landing.
Right, and it's funny because a lot of times when you think about moving down in classification, you think that the competition is going to be easier regardless, and then they get thrown in the blender, and it's like...
Now, here's some teams that moved up that I think got it about as bad as they could have. Forest South Hills. South Hills moved up 5A Division 2 to 5A Division 1. They're in with Alito and Denton Ryan. That's about worst case scenario.
Yes.
Right? Beaumont United. Beaumont United moves up from 5A Division 1. They are now in the district with Galena Park, North Shore, Atascocita.
Yeah, nothing to worry about, right?
Leander Glen. Leander Glen, another one. Them and Eastview, Georgetown Eastview.
Yep.
They both move up to into 5A Division 1 from 5A Division 2. They get in with College Station, Cedar Park, A&M Consolidated,
which is
Georgetown.
such a fun district,
Brutal.
but not where the other people want to land.
Right. But then there's other teams that I think they were looking around and they were saying, hey, you know what? We're dropping down. Things are going to be okay for us.
Yep.
I think an example of that is Skidmore-Tynan. Skidmore-Tynan's a 3A Division 2 team, dropping down to 2A Division 1. Awesome. Okay.
Woohoo,
We
let's
finally
go.
get to be the big fish in the small pond.
Yep.
Who's in our district? Shiner Refugio. Like, that's brutal. That's brutal.
Yep.
Plain and simple. There's no two ways about it.
You're fighting for fourth place almost at that point.
That is a brutal place to land. I would look at a place like we mentioned it, but the Dallas ISD teams that were dropping down from 4A Division 1 to 4A Division 2. Dallas Roosevelt and Dallas Lincoln. Like those programs, I think, have got to feel like, what did we do to deserve this? They get lumped in with where'd they end up? They ended up in with the districts with Quinlan Ford and Sunnyvale and Caddo Mills. Pretty tough, right? So just because you're moving down,
it's a lot of travel too.
Exactly right. Just because you're moving down does not mean that things got a little bit easier. Newcastle's another example.
Yep.
Newcastle drops down from 1A Division 1 to 1A Division 2. Big fish in a small pond. You get Strawn in your district. I mean, that is pretty brutal. So, depending on classification changes, there were some hard landings and some soft landings. Thought number 4, the RGV's moment. I don't want to go too crazy about this. Okay? I don't want to go, put undue pressure on teams.
Right.
But when I take a look at 5A, and most especially when I take a look at 5A Division 1, I am not sure that the Rio Grande Valley has ever had an opportunity like this to make
some noise.
Make some noise. Okay?
Yeah.
Here are a complete list of the teams, the non-Rio Grande Valley teams that advanced past the second round of the playoffs last year that are in Region 4 of 5A Division 1. Here's a complete list. Are you ready? Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. End of list.
And they struggled last year.
Who?
Corpus Christi Vets.
Oh, no. That was a team that made the quarterfinals.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I know, but they were like, they weren't what they used to be by their standards. Yes.
That's it. By getting a second district in 5A Division 1, the Rio Grande Valley now comprises half of Region 4. Okay? And by the way, it's a lot of the Corpus schools, and it's the schools that have, the Miller is going to be there as well. They had a disappointing year last year, but Miller, I would look at it, but remember, they're moving up, right? A full classification. Corpus Christi Vets.
And then they're lumped
and then
in
it's a
with
bunch of San
Laredo.
Antonio teams.
Yep.
Right? I don't know if the Rio Grande Valley and a team like Harlingen South or a team like Edinburgh Vela or a team like PSJA North or a team like McAllen Memorial or a team like Brownsville Vets, I don't know if these teams are going to have an opportunity like this to reach a state semifinal that they have right now for the next 2 years. This is a pretty good draw for 5A teams in Rio Grande Valley. And my final thought is non-district scramble. One thing that I think is interesting, and another thing that, again, because the bullets are flying on Thursday, you don't even think about it. Going into the realignment, coaches have a guess. They may not tell you that. They may say, oh, we'll go wherever. They have a guess. They think they know where they're going. And they think they know what their district is going to look like. And most importantly, perhaps, they think they know how many teams are going to be in their district. And why does that matter? It matters because you got to fill out a schedule.
Right.
And if you've got 7 teams in a district, and if you think you're going to be in an 8-team district and there's only 7, you got to find one more non-district game.
Yep.
If you think you're going to be in a 17 district, you end up in 8, you may have to cancel on somebody.
And most coaches say that 8-team districts are perfect. You have the three non-district games, and then you move on into district play, and it's like, that does not work for everyone.
And as a result, you're seeing Twitter kind of blow up with coaches saying, I'm looking for a week 1, I'm looking for a week 4, I'm looking for a week 7, whatever. And you're getting some weird matchups.
Let's talk about Gunner.
Gunner's going to open against Bishop in Pflugerville on Saturday. Bishop, if you don't know, is down on like the coastal bend.
Yeah, it's like if you took the toll roads, it was still like a 6 hour and 49-minute drive or something like that.
They're going to meet in the middle in Pflugerville, right? How about Nevada Community is going to play Dallas Lincoln in a state or rather in a non-district contest? Now we all go gaga over kind of the big fun matchups that teams are putting together. They're putting together unbelievable schedules. South Oak Cliff's going to play Duncanville,
Lancaster.
They're playing
DeSoto. They're literally playing the I-20 corridor.
They're bowing up with everybody. Those are fun. What I think is going to be interesting is the scramble that goes on right now to find non-district dance partners for teams, for schools that maybe we're not anticipating to have to fill this many slots.
Well, and it's funny, too, because we talked about it, like when a program that is historically incredibly good is scrambling to find another person to play. There are a lot of schools that want to bow up and go try and do that, but there are a lot of coaches that recognize, is it better for us to schedule an opponent that isn't historically that dominant, so that way our kids can go out there and kind of learn stuff rather than just get their teeth pounded in and it be like, okay, why did we do that type of thing? So it's funny to see the big powerhouses looking.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance. It's one of those things that everybody's got to play until they get punched in the mouth. And the UIL punched a lot of teams in the mouth on Friday. Or Thursday, rather. There it is. Some more realignment thoughts. We're going to have a ton of stuff up on TexasFootball.com. Winners and losers and all that fun stuff. Toughest districts, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into all of that throughout the course of the offseason and this week here on TexasFootball.com. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider. TexasFootball.com/subscribe. That is our subscription package with 2 magazines, a year's worth of exclusive online content at TexasFootball.com. If you go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Pickle, enough about us talking about realignment.
Yeah, people are probably sick of that by now.
Let's go to the hotline, and let's bring in the voice of Texas high school football. You can hear him on the horn in Austin every weekday. He is our good friend, Craig Way. Craig, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, and Pickle, this should tell you how much Tep and I have been thinking about realignment. When Tep texts me to let me know that Gunner and Bishop are going to play a non-district game on August 27th, my first thought was to say, oh, we need to go down there and crank that one up for Texan Live. We need to do the Way and Tep Roman numeral 2 call together.
I think I might know someone who can get that done for you.
Listen. Well, there's nothing. We like good football, but perhaps sometimes even more than good football.
We like weird
football. We like weird football. And Bishop and Gunner would certainly qualify on the opening Saturday of the season. All right, Craig. We got to unwrap the package, the UIL realignment on Thursday, and got to take a look at where the UIL had laid everything out. I'm interested, when you got your first glimpse at it, what was the first thing that stood out? What was the first thing that caught your eye?
The first thing that caught my eye was 5-4-AD1. And I guess that would probably be pretty normal when you look. I'm always one looking for some quirks and oddities in the thing, and 5-4-AD1 and what is it, 11-3-AD1, where you have 2 current reigning state champions. I won't say defending, because we know obviously Franklin can no longer defend its Division II crown since they're going D1, and and China Spring can no longer defend its Division II crown since they go D1. So yeah, it's current reigning state champions. It does not happen often that you get them in the same district, and we had it happen twice, and that's why. When folks asked me they said, did you have fun doing that realignment show on Bally's with the crew? And I said, I did. It was great having everybody involved. Enjoy that. And they said, what part do you like most? I said, well, I got to be honest with you. There's a lot of the breakdown things we really talked about. I said, but when Jeff and I were standing out there on the side set on the field thing, talking about other districts of doom other than 11-6A, it rings a bell. We've gotten used to talk about 11-6A, and it has its own doom-like possibilities. But those two in the 3A and the 4A ranks, those were right off the top of the page, Eddie.
You know, one thing, I know you're down there in Central Texas, you know, in the Austin area. One of the ones that stood out to me, and you know, if you want to talk, we've been talking kind of hard landings and soft landings for teams that were changing classifications. One of those is Dripping Springs. Dripping Springs is on the move, and it's not like they got any you know, real reprieve. They get a move into the District 26-6A with Lake Travis, Westlake, a good Austin Bowie team, et cetera, et cetera. Was that something, you know, I'm obviously not as cued into what's going on in the Austin area as you are. Was that something that everybody kind of saw coming, or did it come as a bit of a surprise that Drip got lumped in with those powerhouses?
I think everybody thought it was coming, Tep, and it's simply because of the geographics of it. I mean, you know, Drip backs up to Lake Travis. So it figured to be. By the way, happiest guy probably with that realignment, probably Hank Carter, not because of the caliber of competition in the district. Hank, as you know, great guy, great coach, not the biggest fan of non-district play.
Yeah.
Not that he shies away from it. I mean, after all, they've got Arlington, Martin, and Steele for their 2 non-district games. But Hank is on record as saying, if we played 10 district games a year, I'd be fine with that. Well, he's got 8 district games as a result of it. That one didn't surprise. Let me tell you, Tep, the one that's got everybody around Austin buzzing is the veritable rarity of 3 districts in Class 6A that include Greater Austin and Central Texas schools. That has almost never happened. And to have Weiss and Hutto going north into that cobbled together Super Centex and Brazos Valley conglomerate, to put those together, that drew a great deal of conversation there, in addition to the fact that, you know, 25-6A, it was pull Hutto out, insert Manor here. Everything else is status quo with the 5 Round Rock schools and the 2 Leander ISD schools that are in that district. So no big surprise there that they would keep that largely intact. No big surprise in that it was a 9-team district in 26-6A because of Anderson moving up and Muta Johnson moving up, but it is power-packed, no question about it.
Talking Craig with Texas High School Football Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. You mentioned regional changes, and that was one of the places that my eyes went whenever we were taking a look at that and at the alignments. And to me, one of the real maybe hidden storylines this week, if people are marveling over you know, the new districts and things like that, the fact that you had 2 of probably the most, you know, pound for pound most dominant programs in the past decade or so in Strawn and Carthage that both flipped sides of the bracket, Carthage going over into Region 2, I believe Strawn moving over into Region 2 as well. That to me, that is as big as, you know, for all we talk about, oh my gosh, Aledo and Denton Ryan are going to play in the same district. That's fun. That's not moving a defending state champ to the, you know, from the NFC to the AFC functionally. Those types of things I feel like are maybe flying under maybe the radars of people who are just taking the first glimpse at it.
See, if you weren't living in the Metroplex and weren't a long-suffering Rangers fan, you might have said something like Astros to the American League off of the National League if you'd been a Houston Astros fan. But I get your point on that, and I'm in agreement with you. The Carthage thing, we've seen them in Region 2 before, and they're right on the cusp. They are right on that cut line. For Strawn to do it, that's the headline grabber there. I think you're right, and it makes Region 2 a lot more power-packed, and I think it opens things up even more so in Region 3. The other deal was, and this was something else we talked about on the TV show, the fact that you got it to go back to the Greater Austin and Central Texas area. You have 3 5A Division II districts that encompass 2 regions, 11, 12, and 13, and that includes that all AISD district where, with all the opt-ups, with OBJ, a 4A state finals a year ago, playing with 4A numbers, the AISD opting up all those schools because the district obviously wants to keep those schools together for travel purposes and things like that. And then you have the 11-5A D2 one above that, and then the 13-582, which will be in Region 4. And that one's wide-ranging because that one features Liberty Hill, and that one features Lockhart, and Vets Memorial, and San Antonio, and Bernie Champion. So there's a lot that gets put together in that. And that was, we were having fun with those those zones of triangulation, as we called them, or as I called them, AAC on our TV show, amoeba area of concentration, because it looked like a big amoeba the way that it was drawn up graphically. So that's a wide-ranging one there when you look at 13-5AD2.
I want to ask you a little bit of another kind of big picture question about the realignment, because one of the things that strikes me about this alignment, Matt Stepp made the comment on our podcast about this. He said that overall, when you take a look at it, a lot of realignment was chalky. A lot of realignment didn't have some sort of massive shift in things. You didn't have things that we haven't necessarily seen before. But when the UIL did make changes, they went big. Like, they had massive changes that really shifted. It wasn't this kind of thing where we're kind of balling everything up and going from scratch. They took the template, but it does seem like, and I'm interested to see if you agree, it seemed like where they did make changes, they made big, impactful ones that are going to maybe reshape the way Texas high school football looks for the next 2 years.
Yes, they did, and Stepp is right on point with it. Here's some of the reasoning why. When I sat down with Jamie Harrison to talk about it, he said that, and this echoes kind of what Matt said, that he said most folks are going to look at it and they're going to nod their head and say, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. And then they'll look at some of them and go, wow, didn't see that coming. Part of the reason some folks might not have seen a certain thing coming is there's two factors. One are outliers. Outliers are schools that are just stuck out there and they got to go somewhere. I give you Lufkin. I give you Bryan, And Brownwood is another one, although you would say, well, it would make sense for Brownwood to go into, say, a district with Stephenville and La Vega and China. But here's the other factor, and that is not the official appeal petitioning to go into another district. That's in a totally separate category. But in advance, what Dr. Harrison said is we ask schools to let us know in advance, do you have a preference? If it's possible to accommodate the preference, then we accommodate the preference. Well, that's what happened in all three of those cases I mentioned, especially in the cases of Brownwood and Bryan, where and he said they send us emails, we keep all the emails, and when we sift through it in the UIL, we see, does this work for the greater good? Is it going to upset a lot of apple carts? Brownwood wanted to go west. Even with all of the extra travel involved, they wanted to go west. And they got what they wanted. And Bryan did not want to be in a greater Houston area school district. So they got what they wanted. It doesn't always work out that way, but sometimes it does, which gets back to the original point of you look at some things and it makes sense, and then some things you go, wow. Well, sometimes the wow factor is because of they can make something work to help out a school.
All right, one last question for Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer. We mentioned that this is non-district schedules are coming together fast and furious. People are looking for dance partners. We mentioned Gunter and Bishop as a strange non-district game. I'm interested in your time covering Texas high school football. Is there one genuinely head-scratching, bizarre non-district game that stands out to you that the first time you saw it pop up on your schedule, you're like, that can't be right? Because that's how I was with Gunter and Bishop. To be real honest, I was like, oh, they mean Bishop Lynch. Or they mean, Bishop Dunn. They mean one of the private schools in the DFW Metro. No, they mean Bishop down there in the Coastal Bend. In your history, covering Texas high school football, is there one truly screwy non-district game that stands out?
Anytime you have an El Paso school playing a Metroplex school, it's going to stand out. And for El Paso Eastwood to schedule 2 trips to the Metroplex to play South Lake Carroll the next 2 years kind of stands on its own. Now, for fun the other day, I saw the tweet and then I sent it out to you guys. I don't think anybody really locks in on thinking the Fighting Braves of Community High School in Nevada scheduling Dallas Lincoln is one that leaps off the page. Then again, a few years ago, who would have thought in their wildest dreams that Dallas Carter and Venus would be in the same district, which has happened before. So, there's been some weird ones throughout the years, no doubt about it, and population shifts are the reason why for that, Tep.
It kind of I think one of the things that I think about was, you remember, for the UIL 100, they wanted to schedule Houston Heights and Cleburne to open.
Yeah.
And I think people are like, why would you? I mean, there's a historical aspect for it. They played in 1920. They want to do it 100 years later. But it's that time of year where coaches are scrambling to fill their dance card. He is Craig Way. He's a Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. You can hear him every weekday on the Horn in Austin. And I guess I would say we would promote High School Scoreboard Live, but we're off the air for like 8 months. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and we will talk very soon.
Pickle, book the matchup. Tepper and I will show up at the field in Pflugerville on the 27th of August.
Just for you, Craig.
That'd be great. There he goes. Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Itching to do Bishop and Gunner. Be a weird game.
Oh, you want to talk about our brand.
Oh, yeah.
Weird fits that card perfectly.
And, like, you get Craig on there.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, here's the strength. I mean, that, as far as non-district, he mentioned El Paso. El Paso Eastwood's going to come to South Lake Carroll. Actually, when RJ Maryland was in here committing on this past Wednesday on National Signing Day, Coach Riley Dodge was here, and I was chatting him up, and he goes, yeah, by the way, we're hosting Eastwood the next 2 years. I was like, El Paso Eastwood? But then it makes sense because Julio Lopez is a crazy person.
Oh, yeah. He did 2 out of El Paso trips last year.
He always wants to do that. He wants to get them out of El Paso and go play.
Which, I mean, it seems to have worked.
It's fun for us.
Looking at what they did this year.
For me, though, that's like when you take a look at a game like Gunner and Bishop, it's going to be.
There's been so many opportunities to make a Bishop Sycamore joke here that I've held in for the past 7 minutes, just so you know.
Bishop is no. The Fighting Badgers of Bishop are a proud, legit Texas high school football program. What did they do last year? Let's see. What did you guys do last year? Let's find out. You're listening to live coverage of me finding out what Bishop's record was. They went 4-5.
Okay.
Went 4-5. They are moving up from 3A Division 1.
Well, and credit, I was going to say credit to them big time for saying, if we're going to do a weird game, we might as well go swing our bat at one of the most historically good programs in the past decade,
Exactly right. I agree. Anyway,
it's going to be weird. Make it weird.
We appreciate Craig White hopping on with us. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts was going to be a lot of people when we were talking throughout our first segment was asking about Brownwood because they did. They end up in that district with a Lubbock team, a team outside of Midland, in Anthony.
Andrews.
Andrews. That's what it was.
San Angelo Lakeview. Right?
And it's like, you look at that. And what's crazy for me about that is when I was in high school in Atlanta, Brownwood used to be in our district. So to think that how you can pull and switch like that is crazy, but that's interesting to know that they sent in the preferability sheet.
They requested it, and so they wanted to go west, and they did. So they got tossed into Region 1. And by the way, I'll talk about this a little bit on TexasFootball.com. That district, that 5-team district, every one of them made the playoffs last year.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Pretty tough.
So you have that west, and then you get quite the competition.
You get that. It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at TCTF. Like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to the Hall of Famer Craig White for hopping on with us. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please don't get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.